Hi, I want to give you a review of what the market was like today. August 22nd was quite nice overall. The week has been very nice. Well, I always say the same thing, but it's the truth. It's something that happens with this system. I'm going to try to explain the key points, where all those things that I need you to keep in mind are. Because if I get into every price detail, especially today and these last few days, since I've been watching the market all day, from the opening until practically close, so I'm probably going to have a 3-hour video here. So we're going to be looking mainly at the opening, key points to keep in mind for when the price is making certain reactions, and all that kind of part. Now for these movements here, I'm not going to go into so much detail. Generally, it's when breaks are going to happen, and when the price reaches a point of interest, where it starts to give some reaction. So those are parts that I'll be omitting. And first of all, thank you. I want to do this review as a token of appreciation, because I've seen the support you have given to the content, even though I haven't done any kind of advertising or anything. As I said at the beginning, it was going to be you who would spread the word about the value of this content and everything I have provided, and that's how it's been. So I feel pretty happy about that. I didn't expect much, to be honest, because generally people underestimate free content, especially in trading, and somehow I noticed that people have been sharing it, and people are coming to see it with comments of appreciation, people I've never seen before. So it makes me really happy to know that this content is fulfilling its purpose. Well, without further ado, let's get to the chart itself. So, I was watching last night, a bit around here, and when I was making this drop around here, the price arrived. It didn't finish breaking this swing, and it started to fall. And around here, like this zone, which was the most striking in this whole movement, where the price eventually reacted. I wanted to buy a swing failure that was there, but I didn't in the end. And well, from there, all this movement started. Asia has a particularity, and it is that, although for many people, it seems like a range when it starts making these strong movements, there comes a specific point where it stops giving you that clean structure, because it makes very clean structures in the direction, and it reacts by touching levels with high precision. It's incredibly accurate. And then it makes a swing failure and starts reversing all of this, and that's where it goes. In fact, I think the same thing just happened here with Friday's opening, and it reached this origin that I was seeing, and it released and started to fall around here. And here it ends up being this, which is also a peculiarity of Asia. Asia is not so much about making the typical liquidity construction to take this out, but rather tends to try to break something several times, and it shrinks like a pennant. And when it breaks, it goes pretty strong. But Asia has these very precise touches, and usually when that touch occurs at a 50 of something, and that rejection is obtained, and it starts to give an exhaustion, to give a continuity, you can get very good trades with very low drawdown and with small stop losses, because even though it takes time to develop the movement, it is very precise, and the areas are usually small, not with the amount of volume that New York has in the morning. Well, that happened. Then some news came at 8:30, which wasn't the kind I like, the ones that move the most. So you don't study now, but from what I saw, the report came out neutral and led to a rejection, leaving the wick. Same information I've given you. I've given you two news scenarios. Everything the chart does, I've really provided in my videos, as well as in the fixed messages in the order disk. Here is all this about the news, and here is the we. So this scenario gives a movement in the direction, and it reverses. From there, it leaves a weak reversal, and from that, 50%. A flip is generated, taking out this high, and the price starts moving up. So when I'm ready to trade and see this news, that's when I say, we might be seeing what I was expecting. What was I expecting contextually? Here, clarifying before we get into the details of the country. Waiting for a reversal, a potential reversal. It's a Thursday. We've had many days of rising prices, but more than just the fact that it's a Thursday, it's a matter of where the price is at this moment. So I had told a couple of people initially that it had this origin above the gap as a potential reaction zone with which I worked on Wednesday. The tap was very precise on Wednesday. The taps were absurdly precise, and the price couldn't break around here, so there was this battle of possible double bottoms and possible double tops. So, taking this into account and considering the other thing I mentioned about the imbalances when the price accumulates at some point, we are having an accumulation here. Generally, such accumulation is allowing an imbalance to close below in this case. Underneath that accumulation, and eventually it will sweep everything there to at least hit balance. So look at how the exact same thing applies to a higher time frame, which is a trade I've mentioned a lot in my Discord and also in some reviews when this starts to happen. So for those reasons, I was expecting a potential reversal, and because the Nasdaq price always has its thing with round numbers, and not just Nasdaq, any asset, they are psychological prices, so to speak. So they have their good magic behind them. So in this case, we had 20,000, and here I wasn't initially looking at this level. Honestly, the level I had was given that we were going higher from the origin I had marked for Wednesday, which was this. I wanted to refine a little more, and well, I saw that there. I saw that the price is a logo, then another one there. So this I could take as a candle pattern, and I was seeing this initially from the opening. So well, given that the news we had today gave us this reversal, and it started to go up, and it still has some way to go, I would like to see that at the opening, we just went up to touch this level, and from there, to see if it starts to fall. This was the level I was looking at. I didn't have this one at that time, and I had the chart like this. And that's what I wanted to see, because I was also interested in that level, because we needed to swipe this ITH, which is a hack within an imbalance, and we had this other fractal here. So having all this, it was just surpassing this, breaking that round number, hitting this 50 that was pending there, and getting a reaction. That's what I was seeing. What happened was that in seconds, once it opened, the price went right through here like nothing.
That's the advantage of not being so aggressive with limit orders, especially from higher time frame levels.
If we know these are setups that take time to develop because they're of higher time frame, there's no need to be the first to want to be in the move from the beginning, enduring all the drawdown and consolidation for probably managing the trade throughout all that consolidation, ending up exiting, and then the price finally develops. So I saw that the price simply went up. I'm usually very quick when I'm watching the open. Well, I always have this on the side. I'm usually with Ninja all the time watching because that's where I execute. And as the Ninja develops in seconds, here I am, watching my bigger time frame to see what it's hitting. So, of course, what happened in this move that crossed 206 like nothing? It came here and didn't even give me what I like to see at this point, and it just kept going. It kept going. So as the price keeps going, that's where I took this from here. This one here, this fractal, it was right above this 50. And somehow it could have been like a potential responsible for taking out some. These 5 minutes, probably in a minute, this fractal was probably responsible for taking this out. So I saw that the price got there, and that's when it started to react. It reached that level, and here, I wanted a slightly stronger upward move to have a fail in a swing that, likewise here, in a lower time frame, it did in a second or two, but I wanted to set a sell stop here. A sell stop is valid below this bullish candle, in this case, which is a trade I've done. In fact, it was the trade I recorded and sent to Apex as proof of my trading. It was exactly like that. At the opening, the price went up, touched something, and I set the sell stop on this last candle because in this case, since they are all bullish and respecting it. If you look at the low of each bullish candle, all of them are being respected. So, the moment we have a bearish candle and we break the low of the last bullish candle, we can assume a flip in a lower time frame, and the candle pattern would be here. It comes out, quickly returns its 30%, and goes away. Obviously, since the opening, what I'm seeing in 5 seconds is the fractality of what happened in 1 second. But look how fast it is. But the theory remains the same. Now we have this responsible area here, already explaining how I'm taking this at the opening. Now we will go with a bit of pure price action. I'll tell you right now, when the price starts to fall and gives me the bearish narrative I was expecting, my first point of interest was something around here, more or less a drop to this zone. Because in a video, I mentioned that you should look at what the price is doing. Assume an equivalence of these movements so that you don't end up in the wrong place. The benefit is that sometimes by wanting to enter quickly, you'll grab anything around here as soon as the price breaks to continue. But if the price is showing strong pullbacks, why would you want to continue from here then? Up to that point, it was what I expected, though nothing crucial was here. Notice there wasn't a clear origin or change. This area's structural shift had already been 50% mitigated. This one here had already mitigated 50% of its impulse, and in its 70s, there was nothing noteworthy for me, so I wanted that as the initial price target. However, the area with the most potential to stop the price was between this original point from Asia and this other point from over here. This was also what I had worked on in Asia and analyzed here. I don't see anything I like that would prompt me to take action. Look, there is no clear flipped, no clear determinant, nothing of my interest here really, so it isn't something I'd be excited about, but simply put, equivalence issue of the magnitudes of those movements. That was like the main target. Obviously wanted to take all that to go towards the daily imbalance, but everything is step by step. Now, let's get back up here and clear this out. So look at the 1 minute candle as it leaves us. This candle pattern here, at this moment that it takes out the low of that bullish candle, becomes the candle pattern. There it is. And look at the pullback where it reached. Now, let's see this in seconds, because it made me laugh quite a bit, because I was listening to ICT as he was mentioning things after they had happened. And with this system, you see, predicting how everything really happens, and you get an idea of how it will happen and to where. So you really see the precision that these algorithms have. So, to start, this area here, which is the responsible one, because this whole movement was completely linear. It didn't leave us anything before breaking. And here we break it. Here we break it. And then here, it gave the pullback to 50% of what was the flip. It was here, and this failed to make a swing. So you already know that when the price goes to make a swing and puts in a low, what have I told you? Don't start making shorts from these things around here. The price gives you some points here. Ready? Perfect. It gives you some points. But what's the need to try to bet against my system if I already know how it works? Look, that eventually I ended up taking the high of that displacement leg. So there's no need to fight this if I saw that the price didn't break. I don't want to start chasing sales out of nowhere over here. In this case, it was the only zone in all of this. Over here, there was someone responsible for breaking this, so there was some kind of battle and order flow. But finally, this hype was taken. And this now builds us a responsible party. Remember what I told you in a review that I gave you for free? That you have to build a narrative in one direction, and it's in favor of that direction that you look for the patterns that I provide you. It's not that you start looking for changes in order flow everywhere, because I told you that when a responsible party breaks, the order flow changes. No. When it's in favor of the narrative, what I'm going to look for is something from the opposite direction, failing to fulfill its function. In this case, if I want to go down, I'll wait for the publish to fail in fulfilling its function, meaning that this doesn't give me a continuation and consequently gets broken, and that the Veres starts to distribute. Because if not, you'll go crazy since the price will be changing order flow all over the place. And as I told you in the review I gave you, the price is going to create let's say in ICT terms, for those who are already familiar with ICT, it's going to create PD arrays, in this case, opposing responsible S&D points of interest, to then reverse them and make that order flow change in the direction where the price wants to go. But if that's not clear to you, the price will confuse you in every direction. It will throw you off here with one stop, and then another stop in the switch, and then you won't enter when you actually have to, because you started chasing a pattern mechanically. So, there it is, the tap at 50% of the flip, all of that is ready. And now that the price has built up for us, it has created a bullish signal which broke and leaves us with this here, which would be the signal responsible for taking out this signal in favor of the narrative I'm looking for, which is bearish. Because this one, and because not this one, because this was generated after breaking the responsible party, this is nothing for me. So the price over here, what I was seeing at first glance, what I did was grab it like this. I didn't complicate myself much, honestly. You know, like I said in structure, if I have a high and a new high, what I do is find the lowest point between the two highs, and that's it. I know that's my structure. So I was looking at this 30 as a first target. There was a zone here, a validated fractal at the same time. So there was that confluence at the 30%. And I liked it as a first target. Look at the precision with which it got there. And that gives us then the pullback to this responsible person. Then this is a key moment to continue confirming. The yes, it measures to the downside. It is still valid that it is not going to be, that the price simply goes to distribute from that 30% of that swing, and nothing here. It makes me a flip again, and leaves us a new low. Here, it starts to be simply impulses in what has been this opening, impulses to the downside. And here, it leaves us an inducement, close now, to the 50 of this, which was also in confluence with another, responsible for taking out this small swing. This was here. So this was left as an inducement. When the price does this, which doesn't give me a distribution from the 30, then it comes and takes it out. It stays close to a 50, and I see that this reaction, I don't see something important here, that for me is almost a guaranteed target for when it confirms again in this direction. There was another news at 45. Then here the price, what is the first thing it does? They go and break this. It's the same thing I told you here, that it can be taken the high of this bearish displacement law, and the price stays here accumulating until the news comes out. Takes this, the sweet, from there comes, and sweets to the downside. Look how nice this sweeps this down too. Then have another reason to go up and test again. In what form do I see this? This sweeps, so it has to go, take the low of the displacement law, which it comes and does. That is to say, it saw it and fulfilled its function, and then that rejection to the downside does not fulfill its bullish function. It does not take the high. Instead, it fails to set that swing and ends up taking it. So, you see why I came up with this way of interpreting price through the fulfillment of functions. Because it's like the achievement of writing certain things and grabbing a narrative. If I understand what happened here, if I didn't understand everything that's been going on here, this has to tell me we are bearish. because it's the most common problem I've found among some students, and even in one-on-one sessions. Many had analyzed it very well, marked the zones, had everything, but in real time, they don't know which direction to take. They don't know which direction to take. They don't know if the price is forming a double bottom or where it's going to go. So I think this is one of the best things I could find to build that narrative. And that's why it's important for me that you understand the videos on system functions and narrative and everything in general. I don't want you to underestimate any video just because it says introduction, zones, whatever it says, everything is vital. I structure it in a strategic way so that everything makes sense in the end. So what happened here confirms to me that we are going down. Now, this is another particularity for you to be very clear on when it happens. What happens when this happens? Price has been making impulses. Impulses. This is usually seen as an accumulation in a higher time frame. There comes a point when it makes a very strong move. This is an inducement to sell too. This is typical when people here say, now it's definitely going to drop, and they start selling. And when you get this, and here, those sweets haven't been made to complete the pattern, which is the tap, and then the double top. It's here when this trick is just about to happen. So here, everyone gets caught. Those who started selling get caught, because now it did go. And those who are going long get caught, because here there was a supposed structure, change a trick, as they call it around here. And this is lies. He is just going to come and make that pattern. He will practically sweep everything. Sometimes there's an extreme zone that forms around here, where everything starts. What do you mean an extreme? Many times you will notice that the price came from making a very strong move, and it reaches a point where it stops. And from there, it creates a zone in the middle of nowhere. And from there, this starts. So when the price makes this pattern for you, it usually sweeps everything, conserving that last zone, which is like an origin generated in the middle of the path, and from there, the double top is formed to continue. This is very important to make it clear. I've also left it in notes from months ago in my Discord, where I talk about that zone that sustains the price in this type of scenario. So that's what happened. Precisely this, and guess from where it happened, from the responsible party, and having broken this responsible party, in which we had made this continuation initially that began to take us out of this entire opening zone. Now there I had indeed marked a huge box that the opening range. I don't know what it is, what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that the price is making a precise tap here. It's making a precise tap here, making precise taps everywhere of our areas, of our levels, and the guy simply marks 20 lines everywhere on the chart, and the moment he arrives and starts reacting, he starts saying, see this that I have here, see this that I have here, and that's how it goes on. And then he will shout at you because no one else can be right. No one else can discover things that he knows. Everyone is wrong, and he's the only one who's right. So that's why, despite it being a system that I really loved back then, I think it affects traders, especially because of their mentor. He's instilling in their minds having to be right, and that is their worst enemy in this. It's okay to find a way to describe the price. But in a system that puts so many conditions on, uses so many concepts everywhere to be able to give an explanation for everything the price is doing, you yourself say that everyone is wrong and only he is right, because your subconscious will absorb that. So just focus on something simple that helps you understand a large part of what the price is doing, and that's it. You won't need anything else. Well, over here. So what do we have left? Going to this movement that the price made around here, it leaves us with a responsible person here. This area over here. It breaks from this one right here. I'm still feeling off with the girl. It breaks from this area right here. Hence, they leave us responsible for breaking a responsible that is not mitigated. The price simply goes for its target. As I said, when it's this strong movement, it's usually when there is that consumption of said movement in a very linear way. I know you've noticed it a lot. And then it comes to sweep. So the first top of this, and then to make the double top. The sweep then does a sweep of that first sweep until it goes. Then it makes an attempt to boost from something bullish, of the last bullish fractal that was generated, which is responsible for taking this out around here. It will continue if it breaks. Otherwise, it breaks, and the price starts going now. This key. If we are then in the responsible for having taken out this responsible price, it reaches its 30. Look here, another thing. See that the more you search for one, the more you find it. This other one that I have seen here, this internal high, is taken out from this area. From that area, it wicks and goes back to it. And the price keeps going, which means that you will see it hasn't met it so far, because the wick didn't give me the pullback I would expect from a sweep, but it simply came to the responsible for having eliminated this high for me. From there, it keeps going. So when something like that fails to fulfill its function, I already know that the price is looking for something higher prices for some reason. And look here how you derive this from this fractal. This was also super precise. Notice that it is simply an opposite candle, and it was responsible for giving us this strong movement that eliminates this extreme area that I'm talking about right now. It creates a small zone, and from there, this begins to take shape. And you can see who's responsible for having removed the responsible one, and that extreme too, giving us this shift and the price here. Comes and touches it quickly, and there's an immediate reaction. That was a super quick fake out. So that's when you realize that there are indeed algorithms behind this, and that the algorithm isn't looking at 81 different concepts to see which one to use at a specific hour of the day. The market is doing this all the time, and then the next one follows. In the review that I gave you, how it kept escalating from one responsible person to the next. So, what's left here is the responsible area. All of this here from having removed this responsible person. And where does the price reach here? To the responsible person, for having removed the person. And from there, if it starts to happen, a stronger movement that ends up taking us out of what could give us problems at the opening. In this case, look how it tries to make a double bottom from the wick. This is something that I don't usually take. Honestly, from the wick, I take its 50, and that's it. But after the sweep, I get an idea that we might be going for the clock. And if I don't like looking for the double bottom so much, still look at the very good reaction it gave. But because it was pending completion,
The bearish pattern once completed now. Indeed, we went where we had to. Good job.
now it starts to give this whole drop that I start looking for around here. Honestly, none of these areas caught my attention. What I took from here was the 50%, and as for the 30%, it passed like it was nothing. I simply took the 50%, and it was around here in confluence with this zone where the Asia thing happened that I mentioned. So, another reaction started from here. From around here, no more. There wasn't much I saw there, but like I said, it wasn't an area of much interest here. Well, I believe it started from this point where it had already touched the 30%, and from here it continued. Just look at how the price is leaving inducement. Around 50, until he finally swipes to touch that 50, and then makes a more decent move. This fractal over here was responsible for removing this from here, which was what it touched over here in seconds. After that 50, this fractal there, and then the price kept falling. What else do I mention to you? Accumulations are not flips, nor are they structural changes if the price starts doing this to you when it breaks a high from this. It doesn't mean that there was the flip second thing I've told you. That if you don't catch a tap, the first tap against an order flow of a trend, you don't want to catch the second tap, nor anything, not even the flip, because that tap is the pullback that is happening in the larger time frame, seeking reasons to continue the current order flow, which in this case is bearish. Seriously, don't get into these kinds of days, trying to look for reversals in the price everywhere. The price has already told you several times that the bullish is failing. The bullish is failing. The bullish is failing. Don't keep looking for reversals. The price will give you more reasons by going in favor of said narrative here. What it did basically, in different candles, something very similar to what the responsible did. Having taken the responsible out around here, creates a bullish responsible for us in this whole area. This was that last downward movement, before breaking through here all that, to then come to take it out from this area. And here there is a pullback to that. Look here again, a flip. Well, this one gave some reaction, but look how it ends up taking it, because the order flow is bearish. The order flow will make flips in the opposite direction, in this case, upwards, simply to give you the pullback to what it does need, to touch, to continue. So, I want to look for tabs and double tops in favor of the narrative, and simply tabs or scalps in account. I don't want to be grabbing flips that go against everything. The price is telling me, and nothing here to return responsible for having taken on that responsible continuity. And here again, after the continuity, look exactly the same as here, simply in different candles. It was making some accumulations, then it made a strong move, pull back, an area it needed. It goes, strong move again, it comes and consumes all that movement, all the accumulation, everything I just told you. To take the first tap, keep the important area, and make the double roof and leave. Everything as is. Around here I might have also made a short completing magnets, when I identified that the price was very trending, as it confirms for me some type of this thing here that tries to make a double bottom from a bullish area, but fails to do so. Then I usually place a sell stop on that, as long as there's a reason here lower to go there, obviously. So I'm not going to go into too much detail, like in those so linear movements. I already told you, like, I've been watching. I don't anticipate anything. Even though I have an idea of what might be happening, I don't anticipate anything. For example, in this case, if I see the price falling, I let it fall. And the moment it starts to give a curious reaction within 5 seconds, that's where I look at another screen quickly to see what it reacted to. There is no need to guess. As I have told you in the playlist, let the price choose the areas, and you through order flow, reading will know if they come in. And this finally, at this moment, we end up pulling that out. Very good signal around here. The last thing I had was like this, which was responsible for pulling out the responsible person. Like that last thing I was chasing, which I think was precisely that trade I did around here. That I was telling you about. It was going towards that. But nothing of a small accumulation there. Now, an aggressive scalp, even of several points. And the price continues to move. So if I start to see here, now, yes, when we reach the imbalance, the first thing I observe is this thing about trading, the imbalances. It has its two sensitive points. One, after taking out the low, before hitting the imbalance, because there, I know that I rule out an entry drill, that this is from ICT. I rule out an entry drill, that this usually happens as if everything gets swiped. Everything there is touches the imbalance, and the price immediately starts to reverse. So the first target is touching the imbalance. If it passes like nothing, the second target is 50% of the imbalance. And if it definitely passes like nothing, like the third quadrant, or 75% of the imbalance, I then go for a fractal. A few days ago, when this accumulation here was happening, I told someone that what could be created would be the factor responsible for greater temporality, that this pullback could simply be the creation of something responsible for resolving this situation, because this was a very similar price action to the previous rise we had around here in all of this. And the price does this very similarly. It also happened with news topics and everything, and it reached points where it started to accumulate, like in this case, and ended up being what was responsible for resolving this over here, and so on. This was responsible for getting us out of this. There's no imbalance. There's absolutely nothing. In fact, we closed it. So what target was I looking at? The price reached a touch around here to clear a bit of what we were doing around here. Arrived exactly on time. Good. Here I forgot this little detail. I had erased it already. I'll be back in 5 minutes. This tab at 50 of the imbalance here of 5 minutes. The only imbalance. You all know that if I have many imbalances on a smaller time frame, I'll go up until I find a single imbalance between these time frames that I have here. It's a perfect touch at 50. I remember this. And from there, this drop started again. A lot of people might say, alright, this was the flip, now we're going, and this other thing here. These are little things that slip my mind, because it's really not the same trying to remember everything hours later, as it is when you're seeing it live, as it's happening so beautifully. So this was like responsible for having taken out this responsible that was generated here that I showed you in seconds, and from there the price went, and then here it came to do the sweep to the first up. Look how the trap area I mentioned is the area generated after breaking a... The swing validates a zone for you
gives you continuation, then the price comes and takes it out in the direction to do the sweep of the first up, and then it takes the other one out as well. This spot's not visible. Don't give him anything, nor is anything validated. Absolutely nothing. He was the first up and the continuation. So this area is the one that makes a lot of people lose when they start in this system, because some want to continue from it. In short, others, when seeing that it makes the high, they already want to do longs from here. And when this comes back and makes the low here, they don't know what to do or have already blown the account. And they no longer have a way to operate. So pay attention to all the details I'm giving you. That imbalance of 5 minutes had passed me by, and nothing the price then reached here, and that this was the high. And I started to take small zones here. These pretty ones above were not of my interest, because they are generated after breaking the high. So that's a target to reach the responsible one below. Notice that the price went through it like nothing, and here I started to take levels. I started to take this and its own fractal here and around here. There was another in 1 minute as well that was responsible for taking this out. So we had those things around here. So the one who comes a minute when I put it on replay to go see, to refine that, the price had placed it, but it didn't reach 30. This. So when this reaction starts, and it starts falling here, I'll tell you how I already, when the price was around here, and closed an imbalance it had here too, which I think was 15 minutes. I already go with this as a target, because it already gave you a hint that something bullish was disrespected, even though it was weak, and left something more important, unmitigated, where the major volume was. I'm going to mark this here, because I also saw it. He was responsible for this swing. His 30% had already touched here, so I'll leave it here at once. Ready? What happens here? Price first touches this first area, comes over here, touches the logo again, and leaves this flip, takes this out, and starts to leave, starts to leave, starts to leave. What do we leave above then? What did I tell you? I don't complicate my life by meticulously searching for areas. I go part by part. First thing the price will revisit is the 30%. Well, the responsible one in some cases. But in this scenario, the movement was very linear and didn't leave us a clear responsible one. So I take always this, everything, because I know that this in a higher time frame was the change. Like also here, a wick in 4 hours too, and then in daily chart. See, it's the fractal here. This one goes and puts that high, and then it breaks this one. So I take this, and then if the price goes deeper there, I start doing more. Refinement by structure this way are the little things I do. As the price leaves a higher time frame area and returns to it, then it returns to that 30% of the entire fractal from the higher time frame that we left, with a lot of movement, and it starts to accumulate. See how it creates a small one here, responsible for removing this from Wikia to then reverse it and give us the order change confirmation. Here was the imbalance I mentioned to you from 15 minutes. The price started consuming it like it was nothing, which was a great indicator. And let's see what else around here. Well, here again,
the accumulation comes into play.
It arrives from a strong move and reaches a point where it creates what looks like a fractal and starts doing this. Impulses, but in accumulation mode. It comes and sweeps everything to touch the generated imbalance. The same thing I just explained in the daily chart. This here is in 1 minute, and here, so I saw the chart this, then I saw a bullish one being generated, I saw it reversed and closed with a body. That bullish imbalance. The price starts to respect that, and at the same time left us a bridge imbalance. See that at all times it was respected. So even though it was an accumulation, we had that price action there, and here was the candle pattern. The origin of this movement reached 30%, sparking development. There was a fractal holding the price, but once it broke, it surged. This happened around 30. Let's go this way. Here it is. So, look, this is the same thing I was telling you about earlier, the typical sell-stop setup that I do. So let's see. Here's a small fractal. See how it validates and goes, and the price begins to hold from there. Hold on, and at the moment it breaks, the order flow changed again in favor from the higher time frame, and the melt-offs the price gets are tremendous. So, it's a way of trading that I don't go into much detail on. I don't teach it in detail in an advanced way in the playlist because it requires a lot of experience to avoid falling into traps in Wikios. So no, it's not something I want to teach publicly. I know it will do more harm than good to many people, but it's a great entry when order flow is understood, and I know there's no need to explain it if they really put the effort into understanding these changes in order flow. Well, since the video is getting very long, I really love explaining everything in detail, but it's getting a bit lengthy. I'm going to explain another little thing over here. Just like it always happens. And we'll leave it here at this specific point. Look at this area here. This was beautiful because the price takes us out from this area and starts making this accumulation. It comes to sweep the first up that we saw back there. This one we weren't watching right now. It's the middle part. Look quickly at 13 and 44 here. Still, if it was a sweep of a tabalgo around here, but pay close attention to this. What is this here? Let's quickly go to the left, and I'll show you. Look, the responsible one I mentioned earlier, this one that I had here. I saw that the price passed like nothing. I don't remember if it caused any reaction, to be honest. The price went by simply like nothing. It didn't give much more. It simply reacted to the 50 of... I think it was from the whole area as such, and he broke it. So what does this turn into? The responsible one for breaking it. Alas. Wait, it was the one from a minute ago. Now it's correct. What does this turn into? Responsible for breaking that responsible one. Linear movement. So, at the moment this is taken out, what is this? So this was beautiful, because here's the trick I'm sharing with you on Discord.
It comes and clears everything to reach something important, whether it's an origin or whatever here, and there to make the move is a trade I've sent you that I execute. Sometimes it doesn't show up much, but when it does, I take it. Whether if I suddenly know where to short around here, I usually go short, or if I clearly see where it's going to be long, I usually go long up to here somewhere. You know, I never aim for highs or lows.
Increases the win rate a lot by not aiming for highs or lows. It avoids a ton of break-ins.
So, liquidate that trap. It comes to 50, then it gets here to the origin where the candle pattern was, and then it goes back to the price again, and I don't know what details I've missed. Really? Well, I interact a lot with imbalances, and that's how I navigate the price. Moving up in time frames, as I see, it stays a long time at one point. I'm already getting an idea based on the time, which candles are closing, if it's the 5-minute one or the 15-minute one. If it indeed leaves me an imbalance at that time frame, that's where I expect a sweep. Those are details that you gain with practice. With this thing about multi-temporality, everything he mentioned to you is just about being like this. I mean, I am really 100% of the time here, but I don't lose my guide of the bigger time frame, because if you lose that guide and only stay in 5 seconds, you're going to miss out on a lot, especially when just starting with this system. So this was the review I wanted to do as a thank you for the support you are giving to this content. And more than support, it's a way to appreciate what I am giving you. Honestly, very few people value it until they see how much it costs elsewhere for less useful information. Other systems that charge $1,000 for courses, right? There are so many things that aren't worth it out there, and this is so underappreciated, so I hope it's really helpful for you all. Now, I may have overlooked some details here and there, but the video was getting too long. I tried to bring you the most interesting parts I had on hand. Well, here we are at the end of the day. And here I have, well, had 50 and all these swing zones, and they had around here like another 50 ready, just in case for a flip that was with the sweet. These logos at the price reached 50 at the swing, and there's a reaction happening right now.